Right, it's going to be a start of possibly not too much of a long video, but it's going to be a review on a product that I've just purchased from the maltmiller.co.uk, and it's a beer kit. It is the Punkie IPA, which, as you probably guess, is like a clone of Punk IPA. You get for the kit, I think it's £30. You get 2 of these, which is a 5 kilo bag of Marisota, and then you get a lot of hops. The 2 bags make 2 batches of 19 litres, which is ideal for a corny keg. And then the hops that you get, which have to be split across the 2 kits, you have to weigh out. You get Chinook, Nelson Sauvin, Atanum, and Simcoe. And let me skip my little sheet here. There's quite a hop addition for this beer kit. But there is one thing I do want to highlight, that most of the hops go in at the last part of the boil, which is meant to give you really great flavour and hop profile to the beer. So when you get it, don't be concerned. At first I was a little bit like, oh, why is it all at the end? But then I have read and confirmed it with Rob that there are a lot of people, doing it this way, and you do get a much more hoppier beer and pronounced flavour from it. So you get 50 grams of Chinook going in on the last 12 minutes, 16 grams of Atanum going in at 5 minutes, 16 grams of Nelson Sauvin at 5 minutes, 16 grams of Simcoe for 5 minutes, and then we're steeping 16 grams of Atanum, then steeping 16 grams of Nelson Sauvin, same as Simcoe, and then we're going to dry hop at the end of that. After fermentation, 3 to 5 days, 16 grams of each of the hops again. And you've got a choice of yeasts on the site that you can go for. They recommend their West Coast yeast, or they've just recently got some new yeasts in from the yeast bay, which is the Vermont ale yeast, and I got one of each. So I got the West Coast ale yeast that they sell themselves, and the yeast bay Vermont ale yeast, and they got some really interesting yeasts on there at the moment at Malt Miller from the yeast base. It's worth checking out. If there's not just like IPA yeast, there's kind of all different ones. There's just some right random ones, so definitely recommend that. I've got the mash going just now. I'm doing it in 2 separate things. I'm going to do one here, like a brew in a bag, sort of in the mash tun, and I'm also going to take a day off next week and brew another batch up. I'll kind of cut a little bit of footage in there, but everyone knows how to brew an all grain beer, so I don't really want to run through the whole process of exactly how to do it, but I'll just show little snippets of sort of the mash and a little bit of the boil. Right, so we've just done the mash water on our boil kettle. It's now in our mash tun, and just double check the temperature. There we go, bang on. So I'm going to leave this now for 90 minutes and then we'll cut back. So I've got all the hops weighed out, which are here. So we've got our 12-minute edition, 5-minute edition, and then our steep. And then all the others are going to go into the fridge in a minute, and they're going to be held for the dry hopping and for the other kit. Just waiting for it to come up to the boil. Right, so here we are. We've had the 12-minute edition, we've had the 5-minute edition, and now we're having the steep edition. I'm going to keep this in here for 30 minutes and then I'll start chilling. I've also added a Protafloc tablet at the 15-minute mark, and the chiller went in around 15 minutes just to sanitise it. Yeast has been pitched, malt's been aerated, and it's going to sit there at 19 degrees for a few days, and then the yeast recommends ramping it up to about 21. So it's the concluding part of the Punkie IPA kit that I brewed up. I'm going to try both of them against a actual Punk IPA. The first one was with the West Coast ale yeast, and the other one was with the Vermont ale yeast. They've been done sort of a few weeks apart. The West Coast ale yeast was a little bit slow to kick off. Once it got going, it was fine. Went quite good. The Vermont ale yeast, again, a little bit slow to start with, but then sped off quite well. Both beers tasted fantastic out of the trial jar, so they were I knew they were going to be great beers, but I thought I'd sort of pit them against the real thing just to see what they're like. So I've poured the one from the Vermont. Sorry, not Vermont. The West Coast is on like a little keg that I've got next to me. So I've just poured out one of them prior to this. Going to crack the commercial equivalent. Now I did do like a little pricing to see sort of how comparative it is if you sort of brew this kit as opposed to buying it, but I based it on a 330ml bottle, which I thought you could only get Punkie IPA in, but you can actually get it in this, it's a 660 this bottle, so one thing I will say is my one's come out a lot darker than that. It's almost, the commercial equivalent is, I would say, almost lager sort of clarity. It's kind of very yellow, and I'll just show you the West Coast. It's close, but it's a little bit darker. I think it's the haze from the hops that were added in the dry hopping. Maybe that's filtered out in the commercial as opposed to the home brew version. Right, and then I'm going to crack. This is the Vermont ale yeast. I'm going to chuck this in. Just hoping this is carbonated well. It's only been in a couple of weeks. I'll cut it there. Again, a little bit darker, I suppose. Definitely the commercial comes out more like a lager. These are coming out a little bit on the dark side. So we will go with the real thing. It's good. Good carbonation. The hops hit you right on the nose. It is a really, really good beer. Right. Now I've already had a lot of the West Coast this week, so I'm going to try the Vermont. It's just as good. I think this one needs a little bit more time in the bottle, but in terms of hop profile, they are bang on. They are just, I can't really taste much difference, to be honest. For me, the West Coast one is kind of a little bit more hoppy. I don't know whether it's just because it's coming off the keg a little bit better. I think there's a little bit more sweetness in my version, or on the kit version, than there is in that I'm getting. Whether that's down to how I've brewed it, or I'll be honest, I like Punkie IPA, but I like what I've brewed better. It is exceptional. This one, I think, needs another week in the bottle, but it's definitely got a slightly different nose on it. I don't know whether that's the yeast that's added that in there, because it's a specific, I should have got the right on it, the yeast that's taken from like an IPA. It's definitely got a little differentness to it when you go in. But I did a little bit of working out. Now, Punkie IPA is about $1.75 a bottle in supermarkets. You get 330ml for that. And for your kit, you pay 30 quid from the malt miller. And that's going to make 57 bottles at 330ml. Well, that's 57 bottles per 19 litres. So that times 2 is 114. So 114 330ml for 30 quid. So that works out 26p a bottle, as opposed to £1.75 a bottle in the supermarket. So to buy the equivalent in the supermarket will cost you just under £100, but this is costing you 30 quid. So that's quite a saving. And when it tastes this good, it's definitely the best kit that I've ever brewed in terms of, I don't know, just the hop flavour and everything. Was a little bit sceptical of all the hops going in at the last minute, but it seems to have done wonders. It really, really is nice. I can't fault it. I would say probably one of the first beers that when I was racking it off and drunk it out of the trial jar that I thought, this beer's going to be great when it's in the bottle. And it really is. It's even better on a keg. It's amazing. And when it comes in the kit form, you get 2 lots to make 19 litres. Most people know that 19 litres is what a corny keg is anyway, so just straight in the keg, no problem. I can't fault it. I've got 3 glasses of it to drink now. So for me, I'd say apart from the colour of it, you can't go wrong.